This is not just a regulatory process or compliance process. This is arguably the biggest silver bullet this industry has had in a generation.
Welcome viewers tuning into this virtual fireside chat. I'm delighted to be talking with Jamie Strauss today. Jamie is the founder and CEO of Digbee. And Digbee is a data ESG disclosure and research platform helping mining companies to seize the opportunity to demonstrate their true societal value. Jamie, thanks very much for sitting down and having a discussion with me today. Perhaps we could start with just discussing your background and what led you to develop the Digbee ESG disclosure tool.
Thanks, Adam. Well, the background is I've spent 30 odd years in the mining finance world. I set up Digbee to mitigate risk, but really where this led us all to is when I was approached last year to come up with a solution for the junior miners in order to disclose ESG. And I think from that point of view, very simply, what is Digbee or Digbee SG? Digbee SG it really addresses the key problems, both on the miner's point of view, but also from the institutional and other third parties.
Excellent. And just for the viewers not familiar with the ESG solution itself, could you break it down into a quick summation?
Sure. Let me just share a screen. So the Digbee SGS solution is very simple to the extent that it is a right-sized set of ESG frameworks, exploration, development, and production, which are aligned to the key global standards of the world and have been endorsed by many leading stakeholders within the industry. What it does is it massively simplifies the process of knowing what to disclose and ultimately how to disclose your ESG credentials in those different status levels of the companies, while at the same time rewarding management for the action that they take on the ground. It also addresses the increasing regulatory position for directors in considering ESG as part of their fiduciary duties on boards. And lastly, it gives a easy to use standardized structure with regards to fund managers, insurance companies, and other local stakeholders to identify the areas of ESG and know where they're moving from one year to another. So this screen effectively shows you the questionnaire both on the corporate and also on the project basis, where there's a question and answer, evidence to support that answer, and any supporting narrative. Every question is anchored within the related standards, the global standards, with which we also highlight. The ultimate benefits to the company and to management are for an internal report to come to them, where all of the detail is there and can be used for risk management tool, a board management tool with regards to maybe the audit committee having a risk hat on, the compensation committee having easy to use scores to go forward. And for this report, effectively to create the clear positives and negatives within that company on where that company is today, but also where management would like to take that over the time. And it's also important to understand that each project is contextualized so that you're looking at apples to apples and not just looking at ESG in a very binary sense. Mm-hmm. With regards to the external benefits, is the company can use it as a means to have a digital ESG presence. It's accessible on a public platform it's free to access, to look at the scores, the frameworks, in as much detail as they wish. You can see here a BB rating with a confidence band around it as an overall score, but you can go into the detail of the corporate and the project as well. You get a graph of where your submissions are, so you can see an improving trend, and it allows companies, or investors I should say, to compare and contrast both companies and projects. But above all, What it does is it allows third parties to credibly track mining companies across the range of ESG topics.
So coming on to some of the challenges then that the explorers, developers and producers face at the moment, could you run us through what some of those most prevalent challenges could be, and how does the Digbee ESG solution help address some of those issues?
Sure. I mean, the first thing to say is that go and ask any junior mining company to embrace ESG, and I think there's quite a lot of support for this, but they all come back and say, just tell me what to disclose. There are 35, 40 different standards out there, and we've got no idea what to disclose, but yeah, we're really keen to do so. So that is the first and most important thing. I think the other thing is if we're going to disclose, we want to benefit from this. This is not a single use function. This is a multi-use function. You want to know what to disclose, how to disclose, and ultimately we want to make sure that we can reduce our cost of capital, get rewarded for the action that we take, and ultimately bring in a wider pool of capital and investors into the industry, and obviously for individual companies.
Absolutely, yep. And it's an on-rolling process as well, rather than the one-off. Excellent. Okay, so thinking about the buy-side view then, what are some of the challenges that capital providers face at the moment with regards to ESG as well?
Well, as you can imagine, with the confusion of which standards to go to, there's no standardization. So for investors who are investing in the mining industry already, knowing that they need to, under their own duties, under their own fiduciary obligations, with regards to where ESG is going within all these big institutions, is that they need standardization. They need a meaningful way to get comparisons, and so that they can integrate what are the best grades and the best projects out there, with the best management, and how do you partly define that is through knowing that the certain ESG topics are being consistently improved year by year. And we need a standardized process to do that. Until we get that, we're going to find it very difficult to pull this industry out of the bottom of the barrel of perception. So standardization, easy access or ease of access, in order to be able to look at the metrics and get into the detail of that. Excellent.
So what's some of the feedback that you've had so far with the institutions that you've been speaking with or working with so far, Jamie?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, institutions here has been fund management, private equity, producers, insurance companies. So it's a wide range of institutions, all of which are trying to bring ESG into their processes to effectively, to some extent, simplify that process, because ESG has become so complex. And there's no standardization. But equally, in some cases like insurance, where they know ESG can effectively start to add value in terms of pricing of risk, etc. So the feedback's been incredible. The support and testing of the different frameworks has been rigorous, and I'm very appreciative of all the different groups who have done so. Groups such as Orion, BlackRock have really kind of helped us give a lot of feedback in a lot of these different areas, and have now come out and endorsed Digbee, along with groups such as BMO, Newton, and a number of the producers who we need to make sure that the producers are equally happy with regards to the frameworks in order to encourage, or at least to have frictionless M&A going forward.
Yep, certainly. Excellent. That's great support for the initial stages. Okay, so thinking about some of the transitions we're seeing in energy and in capital formation, with regards to ESG investing, sustainable finance, green funds, things like this, how can the mining industry start to tap into this cleaner, more conscious capital?
Well, I think it's in all of our interests, for your viewers who are interested in the mining industry, to really understand the potential here, the opportunity with which we can grasp. This is not just a regulatory process or a compliance process. This is arguably the biggest silver bullet this industry has had in a generation. We have an opportunity to show off all of the good that has been done over the last 20 years, largely since the Equator Principles came out, which have proven so much good within society generally. But we need to get a better perception in the industry. We need to be able to win hearts and minds of society. And we all know that there's these billions and trillions of dollars going like a jet stream above the industry, which the mining industry just simply doesn't tap into because it is deemed to be an evil part of society. And we need to turn that around. Mining is critical to a low carbon economy. And we're not going to get there without pulling ourselves out of a barrel of perception and into a more positive era. Now, I've spoken to 20, 30 different impact investors or ESG groups, green groups, all of which have said, yes, we can invest in mining, but we choose not to. Right. But give us a credible means to track companies, then we will certainly be encouraged to invest in a sector that they regard now as becoming critical to the world's transition to a sustainable future, and therefore must be supported so long as you can prove best practice in the areas of the world that one is legally allowed to mine. Yeah,
excellent. So how does the Digbee ESG process help companies to refine or develop their ESG strategies then?
That's good, because that's a good question, because I think the first and foremost thing is we need to ensure the mining industry as a whole is not put off by this, but is encouraged to embrace and to embrace for good on the ground, whether it's local stakeholders, whatever, but is also good in terms of getting credible traction throughout a much wider part of the investment world and wider than that. So we make all of our frameworks freely available. We are still going through beta tests for another few weeks, so need to call us until we release that to get access. But they are freely available to get access. So once you've put in your company details and put in your team members to get on board, then the questions that are basically served out are tailored to you and the size and status of your project. And from there, you can go the whole way through, answering all the questions, uploading the evidence, and go all the way through, present it to your board of directors, which are required to sign off on this before submission. And then it's only then that we raise an invoice before the submission is scored. So this can act as a kind of blueprint to know what to disclose, how to disclose it, to whom, and obviously when. It's assumed to be an annual submission, although nothing to stop people doing more than one when there's significant change, and to use this effectively to guide management to know all these different areas. Adam, it's also probably worth just mentioning that these frameworks are updated on a quarterly basis, so that they are always current, and therefore management don't have to continue to delve into the deepest of the newspapers and everything to know what the next area of change of regulation is. They'll always be current.
Absolutely, so almost on demand, if you like. Very good. So, how do we reach wider audiences through this tool? There's definitely an opportunity here that wider audiences can engage with the tool.
Yeah. So as you can see, this is a bit of a two-edged thing. So on one side, we're providing all of this information to give the blueprint for the mining companies to know what to disclose. But at the same time, they need, if they're going to do this, they want to see the benefit of that disclosure. So effectively, there's free access to any third party who wants to just sign up and read. And they can come onto the Digbee site, or they can use the scores that have come out from the report that are up on the public on the Digbee thing, and they can on the Digbee site, and they can effectively embed that within their company within the company presentations. And this can then be used to kind of as a catalyst for engagement with local stakeholders, where they may want to have discussions in a transparent way, with investors, insurance companies, private equity groups, and others. So it's a transparent, it's easy, it's immediately available for everybody to be able to view.
Excellent. Yeah, all stakeholders can get a view of and access to. That's really good.
And I should say it's then upon Digbee to really, once we've got enough data and we're beginning to get that credibility within the industry, beginning to rise and the confidence rising that the industry really is proving what we probably all know we've been trying to achieve over the last few years. But we'll now be able to prove that within some sort of digital ESG presence, which is independent and third party. Then we can go out to the ESG funds, the green funds, and to use this as a means to kind of encourage these groups to start investing within the sector they have historically not done so in.
Well, fantastic. Certainly a really important solution for the industry, addressing some real need for both capital providers as well as the mining companies themselves. Jamie, thank you very much for an insight into Digbee. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to catching up with some updates on it later in the year.
Thank you very much.